Knitting 101, Purling. There's really only one technique in knitting, pulling a new loop from an old loop. The new loop becomes a new stitch on the needle, the old loop becomes a stitch in the fabric. The stitches on the needle are like a group of mommies having coffee. The right, or working needle, enters a mommy stitch. The yarn is wrapped around the working needle, and a new baby stitch is formed. The baby stitch is pulled out of the mommy, and the mommy is kicked off so she can go take a nap. When pulling the loop in one direction, the new loop is called a knit stitch. When pulled in the inverse direction, it's called a purl stitch. I like to use the word inverse. It makes me sound geeky. I'll start by showing you the purl stitch. This is different than most knitting classes, but I feel it's the best way to comprehend knitted fabric. The purl stitch. When purling, the yarn is held toward you. The needle enters the stitch moving toward you. It follows the yarn. I will show you two ways to form a purl stitch, Western and combination. Neither is better than the other. Western purl. When forming the Western purl, wrap the yarn over the needle. Enter the stitch, form a loop, draw the loop through the old stitch, kick off the old stitch. You can think of it as wrapping the yarn in a clockwise direction. This is if the needle tip is pointing at the center of a clock. The yarn is being wrapped clockwise. The yarn at high noon, yarn at 3 o'clock, yarn at 6 o'clock. The Western purl is the most common form of purling. Combination purl. When purling, the yarn is held toward you. The needle enters the purl stitch, moving toward you. It follows the yarn. This is the same as in the Western purl stitch. In the combination purl, the yarn wraps under the needle. Enter the stitch, form the loop, draw the loop through the old stitch, kick off the old stitch. Think of it as wrapping the yarn in a counterclockwise direction. Remember, this is if the tip of the needle is pointing toward the center of a clock. The yarn wraps, yarn at 6 o'clock, yarn at 3 o'clock, yarn at high noon. I'm showing these techniques holding the yarn in my left hand. That's comfortable for me. But you can hold in either hand, whichever is most comfortable. You can discover this for yourself by practicing. Each knitter is a little different. You enter the stitch, form a loop, draw the loop back through the old stitch, kick off the old stitch. This is the basis of every knit or purl stitch. The combination purl is more uncommon. Neither method of purling is incorrect, but be aware that there are differences. When you finish a row, turn the work and transfer the needle with the stitches to your left hand. At the start of any row, your right hand should be holding a naked needle.